My nephew looks too much like me, so my wife wants a paternity test.
Hey, what's that guy doing looking like you, huh?
My wife and I have been married for 10 years and together for 14. We are child-free. I also have a nephew who's currently 13, and I'm not going to lie, he looks a lot like me and has a lot of the same facial features as me. I am really proud of him, and we have a close bond. How close of a DNA? I have played a father-like role in his life since he was a kid. He has a deadbeat father, and my sister divorced him long ago. Okay, your sister.
I'm putting together the dots. I'm connecting them with red string.
By the way, this comes from potential twos on the r/OKstorytime subreddit. So a couple of my family members have commented on how much my nephew looks a lot like me, and while I initially thought of it was wholesome, my wife, for some reason, became very insecure and started getting doubts. She was questioning why I needed to play so much of a prominent role in my nephew's life, why my nephew had autism, etc. The insinuations just became weird and made me uncomfortable. If it's inbred, if the kid is inbred, yeah.
Dude,
That's your sister!
Yeah. That's the wife saying that about her own husband. I do agree that my sister has played some part in my wife's insecurity because of her dry humor. During family gatherings, my sister jokes a lot about how wholesome it is that her son looks a lot like me and that she couldn't be happier. It's obviously a joke, but I spoke to my sister and asked if she could tone it down a bit because it was making my wife a bit crazy. Insane. However, last night, my wife asked if I could take a paternity test just for her peace of mind. Okay,
on principle, dude. I'm messing with my wife so hard after that.
do we take paternity test or not? Because if you take the paternity test, she has no way, shape, or form, maybe wants to be like, it's false, but she can't say anything after that.
I would get like a fake paternity test that says like the mom is like Angelina Jolie or something. You know what I mean? Like I would just get something
That is
that's
so
like
funny you say that name.
that's just like fake.
That is so funny you say that name. However, my wife asked if I could take a paternity test just for her peace of mind. That's when I finally snapped and called her crazy and that marrying her was the biggest mistake of my life. I did immediately regret saying it because I meant none of it. My wife is the love of my life. So is my sister. Just joking. But my wife got quiet and started crying shortly after. I had to console her. Was I the a-hole? We got relevant comments and an update. But is he the a-hole for saying that?
No, I guess. For your wife to really insinuate that you had an incestuous child
And he had
then,
enough of it.
like she gets upset after you're like, you know what? I'm done with you because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I gotta assume that I would just be like, that's a joke, right? And then once it's not, I'd be like, oh, you're crazy. It's just blood relative, dude. Are you crazy?
Okay. Relevant comments. Beginning Lemon 4607 says, your wife new homework is puttin' squares.
Punnett squares. This is all going back to alleles.
Usernames all taken 69. For real, my nephew looks exactly like me, and I never even considered this happening. I'm not married, but if I had a wife that was like, prove it to me, you didn't F your sister, I'd be mortified, maybe unrecoverable. So my sister and I look a lot like our cousins, my father's oldest brother's kids, to the point that people in the past said the four of us look like sisters. We've also been told we look a lot like our fathers. If some family member or anyone had suggested something like this, we all would have laughed super hard, especially given that when all the cousins were conceived, my father and his brother lived more than 1,000 miles away from one another. Usernames all taken 69. Some people don't understand how hard genetics go, lol. Trixie Goose says, totally, I look a lot like my aunt, as in spitting image. It's pretty crazy, actually. But you know, I came out of my mom, not her. There were witnesses and everything. At conception or at birth?
It was in court, actually.
Okay.
It was a court birth.
Secure ad 8668. For real, it's so common for children to resemble your siblings since, you know, you guys share a lot of a gene pool. My baby is 4 months right now and looks like me, my husband, my brother, and my nephews and nieces, and even my great-grandma all at once. How did I somehow F all of them for one baby?
I don't think so, buddy.
Wife, you're pretty crazy. Husband, you said that out of anger and you were like, please shut up about this. I did not do that. I did not Alabama my sister.
At first, I wouldn't take it seriously, and as soon as it got serious, I'd be like, I need to step away from you. because what? You know what this reminds me of? I realized I had to break up with somebody because they didn't know there were 2 world wars.
Because how in the world am I supposed to talk to her about World War II planes if she doesn't know that there was a second World War?
It's more just on principle that you don't know World War II was the second one.
Update. Hey everyone, quick update. The gist of it is that I have agreed to take the test, but under certain conditions.
Okay.
What?
Okay, conditions. What are the conditions? We need to know the conditions. I feel like this is the reason he's going to take the test is so he can go, see, stupid, goodbye.
Okay, it's a paternity test. Is it going to say yes because that is also like your family member? Isn't that what's going to happen?
What do you mean?
Is it going to show up as yes because you are related to them?
I think it's more specific than that.
I understand my wife is being paranoid and delusional, but I want to take the test just to ease whatever irrational fears she has. Sometimes these fears have no logic, and I too have had some irrational fears before, and there's no logic in them. He's probably like scared that like, spiders are going to crawl in his bed or something, something small like that. He's like, oh no, this puddle of water has a shark in it. That's his irrational fear, not this. I spoke to my sister about it today, and she was obviously pretty angry at my wife. However, my sister and I discussed it at length, and she agreed to test under certain conditions. I spoke to my wife after and told her I would take the test under some conditions. Okay, what are these conditions you keep talking about? My wife was very happy that I had agreed to take the test and then told her the conditions. The first condition being that she had to stop these insinuations immediately. My wife immediately agreed to it. The second condition being that there were only going to be no more arguments on me spending time with my sister and nephew. So they were complaining about this?
Yeah, she's being like, well, you must spend so much time with your sister and her child because it's your child.
My wife and I have had some arguments over the years where she asked why I spend so much time at their house. My wife agreed to the condition, although she took some time to think about it.
What?
By the way, you don't have to think about joining us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. And what, Dakota? We might even be what right now?
Even be live right now. But before you go check on that, stick with us because we are wrapping up this story, and then you can check to your heart's content. I don't think there's any universe in which you stay with this woman.
This woman's crazy. Like, how would you feel about if your partner said, why the heck are you spending so much time with your sister and her nephew? How would you feel about that?
I'm pretty close with my sister, and I'd be like, mind your own damn business.
Yeah, right?
Like, do you want to come hang out with us? Like, we're cool.
Are they even married? Did I just say wife, or are they just
They're married. They're married.
Okay, they are married. They are married, which is, again, even wilder that it's like you've known this guy's family for years, I would assume. It's crazy.
What's your brain to be like, he's doing it? Like, he did this.
How much Bridgerton have we watched? How much of Downton Abbey have we watched, Like, girl, chill out. Okay, the third and final condition was that I had liberty to go on vacations with my sister and nephew. This is just crazy he has to ask this. Without my wife being there, I told my wife up front that my sister doesn't want her to come on these vacations anymore. My wife was a bit more hesitant on this, but she immediately agreed to it. That's probably my final update. Thanks for the advice, everyone. Okay, Keon, go see if we have a freaking update on the paternity test. We already know what it is, but it's crazy that I need to know now. We're already 2 knees deep. I already know we didn't do it, but we need to know.
Last point that he made does look, with no context, pretty suspicious. He's like, and the last thing is I get to go on vacations with my sister and my niece.
Yeah,
right?
the third one.
Without you, and you don't get to say anything.
But why is she
but
saying
it's
yes
more like,
to all
yeah,
this?
because the sister is like, why would I ever want to be, like, I think at this point it's over.
Keon, can you just read it from there and then put it on me? Update. The results did come back, and it was as expected. However, my wife went back on her word and asked if I could revert the conditions, and I just told her straight up that I would look into divorce if she kept going on like this. Now you're thinking about divorce? What the heck is wrong with you? My wife then freaked out and started crying and asked why I prefer my sister more. She asked if it was because she was unable to give me a baby. My wife has struggled with infertility, and I had to calm her down and tell her I was obviously not going to divorce her, but just to relax. I told her to keep a cool head and think rationally that she had to accept sooner rather than later that my sister and my nephew were always going to be my family. You have to divorce this woman. She is going crazy.
I don't think that there's any way you could keep her within that sort of unit.
I also told her to look into individual therapy. Like many people in my last post recommended, my wife was surprisingly very open to it, and she accepted she was being irrational, but she was afraid of losing me. So anyways, that's my final update. I think we're making good progress, and therapy should be hopefully resolve whatever issue my wife is going through. Yeah, hopefully.